um, okay. So I'm going to share my screen. And come on. There we go. So we're just going to talk a little bit about reading and what's going on with our brains, and also to talk about what specifically, this is to kind of help us give empathy for our students who are learning Braille, what is really going on with them as they're learning to read it tactily. So let's talk about what, in general, what is reading? This definition of reading was given by Knowlton and Wetzel in 1996. This was actually done in a study in Braille reading, on Braille reading, and at the end of this, we're going to tell you what their final conclusion was on Braille reading. They look at Braille as a task-driven process in which the ultimate goal is the perception, decoding, and comprehension of written material. And that makes a lot of sense when we think about Braille, when we think about perception of, the media. It's really done just all tactily. But another definition is that reading is a multifaceted process involving word recognition, comprehension, fluency, and motivation. And I really like this definition because of, we're just kind of talking a little bit before we got started here about this whole word recognition and what's going to happen as we start down the road into contractions and how that kind of skews what we as print readers, how we read, and how that makes the whole process a bit different for the Braille reader. So reading is a perceptual process, and this is what Braille readers are going to go through. There's a tactile, the first thing they have to do is a tactile recognition of Braille, of the cells, of the symbols. The next thing they have to be aware of is the spacing, the indentation, and the page layout or the format. That tells them an awful lot as they're going down the side of the page, scanning a page. That gives them information about that they need to take in. Reading is also a memory process. Now, this is where I think it's really crucial to Braille readers is if their attention is so focused on that tactile process, there's not much left of that working memory to focus on the reading. And so that's another reason why we got to make sure as we create Braille that our dots are well formed and that our spacing is correct. And again, all of that aids that tactile recognition. So here's where it starts to get complicated, letter recognition. So in Braille, and this will become very apparent to you, once we start learning those contractions, especially those first one, the whole word contractions, what we used to refer to as the alphabet contractions. Is it a letter? Is it a contraction? Or is it punctuation? And one of the contractions that went away when we changed from eBay to UEB was the double D, which was in the middle of the word, because that looked very much like a period in the middle of the word. And so that was one of the reasons why that contraction was removed from usage during the update to UEB. So then there's word recognition, which remember that was one of the big parts of our definition of reading. Think about the Braille reader. Is it a whole word contraction? Is it a part word contraction? Or is it a short form word? So where we as print readers are just going to look at a document and we're going to see the whole word. They're going to see parts of words, which then they have to determine from context, is it a letter? Is it, or is it a whole word, or is it a part of a word, depending on if there's some kind of indicator in front of it? And then they have to put this all together. Of course, reading comprehension, making meaning from the words or symbols on the page and the layout. So I think this starts to kind of make a lot of sense to us, even in what we've been learning so far with uncontracted Braille. So the other part of just print readers is that phonemic awareness. So these are all the things that readers have to do. They have to break apart words and say the sounds of each part. There's that alphabetic awareness for certain letters. We know that certain letters represent certain sounds. The decoding, applying that knowledge of letter-sound relationship to the sound of new words. In other words, being able to sound out words. Word study, recognizing familiar words when used in different contexts, like compound words, like bookworm. And this is something that gets quite difficult in Braille. And we've already kind of, so we've, like certain words that we know in print, and they're just difficult to recognize in Braille, even though we know recognizing each letter of the word, but the brain being able to put it together as a whole word is still, that's a part of reading. And then, of course, the sight words, those are the words we learn to recognize automatically, like the, be, with, etc. So then comprehension was another part, one of those parts of reading, and that involves background knowledge. Also oral and print for Braille readers, vocabulary, how English language works, which is sometimes kind of weird, but we learn the rules like using ate rather than eated, so that some words don't fit that pattern that other words do when we start adding suffixes or prefixes to them. We also know how print works, reading from left to right, which is really the same thing with Braille, because they've got to learn how does Braille work, reading from left to right. But remember too, for a Braille reader, it's not just that left to right, but it's also being able to go down that side of the page and scan for, where sentences start. Is there a blank line? That usually indicates a change in context in the page. And then, of course, readers know that they have knowledge of various kinds of text, like fairy tales, poems, novels, articles, that type of thing. There's a purpose for reading, and that we read because we want to know more about something, or we're interested in a story. And then, of course, and this is so huge for our students, that ability to develop strategies for constructing meaning. In other words, the ability to know that maybe I need to go back and reread that difficult passage again, or, maybe, sometimes we need to slow way down and reread an entire part of the page. Okay, so fluency. Develop a high rate of accuracy and word recognition. And then this is always interesting to me, a reading rate that supports comprehension. And I felt like, Morgan, not to pick on you, but I really felt like that the word report, because you obviously know that word, but it's like that, again, not fluent enough yet in Braille to be able to put those letters all together as one word.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this is. And and that's why, do not be hard on yourselves, anyone. We're not there yet. And we're always here's the other thing, we're always going to be slower in Braille than we are in print, period. There's just that's an automatic. Phrasing and expression, that oral reading should sound like speech. And automatic skills, that we practice word recognition and comprehension until these skills become automatic. So, and here's one of my favorite things, motivation, that we read well enough to find it pleasurable. How many of our students are struggling so terribly with reading and it's not a fun thing because their brains are having to work so hard. And I think we understand here in our class what they're going through as we struggle with this ourselves. Another big thing that we know today is that being able to choose what to read, that reader choice makes all the difference. And it's something I really, really give Renee so much credit for. The books that she keeps in our libraries are, the latest and the greatest. Several years ago, her and I got to we were attending an accessibility conference at the National Federation of the Blind in Baltimore. And our plane couldn't come back until like the next day. So we had some extra time. We went into Washington, D.C. and we toured the Library of Congress. Wow. And while we were there, we didn't even know it was there, but we stumbled upon the Young Readers Room. And we went into these two rooms of all these books for like students like our age. And I was like amazed that every book I saw on the shelf, it's like, oh, we have that one, we have that one, we have that one. And, it was the same. Our displays were very similar. And I thought, oh my God, she's done such an outstanding job to bring to our students those very things that kids are reading all over the country. Reading can be a social act. And again, the book clubs that we have going on and making reading more of a social act than just a solitary one. Reading is a way to explore interests. And of course, everybody reads for different purposes. But those purposes are usually, hopefully we're motivated to study. Hopefully we're motivated to read for fun. And then of course, becoming comfortable with different forms and genres. And these are all very important. So here's the conclusion that I'd like you to keep in mind. Is that Wetzel and Knowlton, again, they did a study their first study was in 1996, and their second one was 10 years later. This particular study focused on the importance of having a unified Braille code, and because people were very concerned before we adopted it that it was going to impact Braille readers. And Wetzel and Knowlton found out it really didn't matter so much which code it was, but that the average print reading rate ranged from 30% for oral reading to 60% for silent reading faster than the average Braille reading rate. So Braille just takes longer. And if someone is reading out loud, it's going to take them, our oral reader will be 30% faster and 60% faster, a sighted reader than a Braille reader. So again, keeping that in mind and making sure that our students have the time they need to process what they're reading. So just a little bit of information here about reading as we continue to move forward through our things. And if you feel, one of the reasons why I think it's important to talk about this, because if you feel like you are not reading fast enough, you are for where we are right now. Any comments? Yes.
I really like this topic, and I used to teach English, so my heart is here. I think the motivation slide was really impactful because we all know what it's like, whatever we read, whatever we grew up reading, to read well and fluently. That's like how we're here and having a job right now. But I think our students don't necessarily know it's supposed to be pleasurable. And I remember teaching kids that this was their first experience with print. It wasn't here. And they didn't even realize, like, at some point, this is actually fun. And you might want to do this even if I'm not making you, because all they knew was how awful it was. And I don't know, I think about our students here too. And it's not something that they maybe have ever experienced as pleasurable. So you gotta tell them to keep the faith, I promise, this could be fun one day.
And the other thing that's important about this is is supporting the audio listening to books, is that there are so many studies out right now that show the benefits to listening to audiobooks for the brain. And one of the biggest things it does is it starts to build vocabularies. And when you think about where a lot of our students come from, it's probably not real rich in vocabulary. So that's one of the big benefits. But they found that students that listen to audiobooks are more likely to move on to actual reading of hard copy material. And we had a perfect example of this several years ago where we had a student who was listening to the, Jonathan Mayberry had a series of the, post-apocalyptic zombie, oh my gosh, just, and the fourth book came out on Amazon, but it only came out in print and it wasn't on Audible. And they didn't know, I don't know what the hangup was, but this wouldn't come in. And the student came in and said to Renee, he said, I want to read that book so bad, I'll read it in Braille. Mm-hmm. And so we immediately got the Bookshare file. We had the first volume of that book, the first 100 pages done by the end of that day. And I told him, because I figured it was going to be slow, because I knew he was struggling with Braille. He read it that night. And after, and it was, so I was like, well, I told you to give me a day or two to get that. I think we had the whole thing done within a week for him, and he kept it all, and he read it. And I had an opportunity to talk to his Braille teacher about it, like about a month or so afterwards, and she said she didn't know anything about that, but she said, I noticed an improvement in his Braille reading in class. But again, it all goes to that motivation and finding something he wanted to read so bad, and the only way he was going to get that story was in Braille. And it was like, that has always been such a great example to me.
That's awesome.
So let's go to, hopefully everybody had picked up, because there were no more copies. A couple weeks ago, I left a story up down there. And so we're going to take our time, but we're going to work through our story today. And I gave you a print copy of symbols. These were new symbols. And we have the Braille copy of the symbols too. And we're going to go through those first. So we have those. Mm-hmm. Because in our story, we're going to have some of these symbols. And the story is only a couple pages in Braille. And I also I found the hard copy book, and the library wasn't checked out. This is just so cute. So the story is about Little Jumbo's dad is having a bad day, and Little Jumbo has no idea why. Luckily, he does know how to cheer his dad up with some of his his dad's favorite things. So that's what we're going to work on here tonight. Kind of put all of us in uncontracted Braille. So if you will look at your print copy of this, some of you probably are aware of some of these symbols already, but we've got to be very careful when we're looking at apostrophes and capitals, because notice there are single dots in the lower part of the cell. And we can usually tell which one it is easily, because an apostrophe is usually between two letters. And it's usually going to be like an S or the word don't and a T. The capital indicator is going to become right before a word. One of the words that it kind of messes up sometime is the word a, because you got that two cells just kind of hanging out there. Of course, our comma, which is a dot two, and that will come at usually a fairly, a place that we can usually indicate it at the end of a word, usually where there's a pause in print. And then our ellipse. And notice this is one of the things I thought that UEB did so well. A dot is a dot is a dot. So the dots are all the same as period. So once we know the period and we know that we've got 3 dots here, we have the hyphen, which really kind of looks a little like it does in print, right? And we have the numeric indicator. And I have the numeric indicator on there. We covered that last week. But the numeric indicator is on there for the page, the Braille page number, which is down in the lower right-hand corner of the story. Now, I want you just to look for a moment at your Braille list of these symbols, which I have on this page, and there's just a list of those. And it says new symbols at the top. And you'll notice the first one is the apostrophe, but you're going to notice 2 Braille symbols in front of the apostrophe. Do y'all see what I'm talking about here? All right, so what are those? Does anybody know, anybody familiar with what those are?
The dot 446.
It's here, right here. This is here.
In the full cell? Okay, in UEB, that is called the dot locator for mention. And what that is, there's a page like this in any of our library books, any of your textbooks. There's a page in there called the special symbols page. And that page will have symbols that the reader may not encounter every day and may need some help with. Once in a while, we'll have a symbol in print that doesn't really exist in Braille, and so the transcriber will actually make up a Braille symbol. And there's a method for doing this, so you're not doing something weird. But you always want to check, if you see something and you're not sure, go check that special symbols list. Well, the reason we use this dot locator for mention is that comes at the beginning of every symbol. And the reason for that is with that full cell sitting there, it gives us an idea of where those dots are in the cell, which makes it more easy to recognize. We never had that symbol before, and occasionally you'd see things that just had a hyphen sitting out there or a dot by itself. So I tell you this just because it's a really good idea. If you're working in a classroom with a student and they're struggling, go to the front of their book and find the special symbols page and get them used to looking. Believe it or not, the STAR test, when they're in Braille, has a special symbols page in it. SAT test, all of them have a special symbols page. And it's so, rather than sit there and struggle with, oh, I don't remember what that is, they can easily go look at it.
What is the dot indicator? What was the last word you were saying? The dot indicator something?
It's a dot locator for mention.
Or mention?
Yes, don't ask me.
Okay, at least
I wish I could explain that.
that word. Okay.
Because UEB was developed by 9 different English-speaking countries, that I'm sure that came from, there was some reason that terminology came from one country, and I don't know what it is. So, and if I ever find out, I'll let you know. Because I've been very curious about that. So at the top of our story, our first line is reading practice. This is on page 1 of our story. And at the top, that is a sentence heading. Notice we have a blank line.
She's given us a new symbol. Yeah, did you pick up the one from last week? I did order a few last.
Last week I did.
Okay, so we're trying not to do that. Okay, so we want to get to the point where we're recognizing this or not. I know sometimes that.
So in the back of this.
Right after.
Try not to do that.
Like,
Yeah, it's.
my hands are all like dry. I can't.
Okay, so our title is How to Cheer Up Dad by Fred Kohler.
The new symbol.
And we're at paragraph 1.
That's all I have.
And what we'll do is, Patrick, can you read the first sentence and give you a minute? We'll go around the room. try not to worry about your sentence until we get there.
And do we read it out loud, letter by letter for each word like we did last
No,
time?
let's go ahead and start
Okay.
reading.
After the number page, there's.
We'll give, every time we go to meeting, we'll take 2 minutes to allow everybody to, read through it first before we move through it. But I'd like to see if we can start to recognize.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Okay,
Yeah. there's-
Little Jumbo's dad was
Third line down.
Thank you.
having a bad day.
good. Jay, can you take the next one?
Okay. At breakfast, Dad are raisins on Little Jumbo's oatmeal.
Okay, very good. But that last 2-letter word up there,
There's another letter word.
no, it was like raisins. What was the word after it?
Okay, let's find it again. Raisins in Little Jumbo.
Yes. Okay, so here's the first one, which might give us an idea why his dad is having a bad day. Little Jumbo he has dumped out all the cereal onto the floor and he's now wearing the boxes. And this next one will show you why Little Jumbo is probably going to get in trouble. He is standing on his chair. He's sucked up all the raisins in his trunk and he's now blown them all over the ceiling. So, Morgan, can you take the next sentence?
He should have known what a mess this would make.
Okay, so go back and look at after mess.
Okay, let me go backwards. That.
Yeah. Okay, very good. And Rita, can you take the next sentence?
Sure, but I'm not gonna be able to read it like yours. I'm gonna have to do it letter by letter. I'm not at that. Do you want to skip me? Because it's gonna be a long. I'm gonna go letter by.
No, we'll give it a try.
Hey, they. You. Nope. I don't know what this letter is. So what's the next one? Let me see. Something S. I don't know what that first letter is though.
Okay, are you on the first word yet?
I'm on the second word? I thought I was on.
So what did you say the first word was? I think
They. No. T. H E, oh, then,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't know what that letter is. Something I. Something. Something IS.
But look at now you got it, and you got that letter in the first word.
Oh, his.
There you go.
His. Dad.
And that next first letter is the one that didn't exist in French.
Oh, that's what's going on. W. Um, WAN. E. D. Wanted. Sorry, y'all, it's gonna be a minute, but end is near. Okay. Counting my words that are left. Oh, is this punctuation? No.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Um. Okay, this can't be an apostrophe.
No, it'd be an indicator when it's in front of a letter like that.
Okay, so it's,
Yeah.
oh, capital?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Capital L. I. T. T. L. E. Little. Jumbo. T. Two. Um, Get. A. Nope. C. L. E. A. N. E. D. H. Nope. I don't know this word or this letter. Something P. period. Up, period.
There you go. Very good. Tony,
Okay. But little jumbo had already taken a bath that week.
yeah, so it shows him here in the book. He is hiding in the hamper. And of course, there's raisins spread all over the floor. And Dad is scratching his head as he's looking for him. Okay, Michael, are you up for trying to read a sentence?
Sure, if I can find where that line starts, is it? And,
Yes.
is that single dot down there? What does that mean?
The capital indicator?
Oh, DAD, dad. For if the forgot. I forgot. Forgot. I forgot. Forgot. To no that a little no. I took ahead of myself. LITT, little. Yep. Sorry. Need a little jumbo. Jumbo. And the challenge I always have is tracking back to the other side. I'm like, where's that? Is there a trick to that?
One way I do it is I keep my left finger
Over there.
over there and then I read across with my right. That's how I do it.
But I had the foresight to do such. Oh no, how do I get over here? Oh no, I'm so off already. Forgot, what? Forgot, is that word? Forgot to, where did I'm so lost. To,
Okay, so you'll be on the line underneath the one that had forgot in it. And notice the indentations, each little paragraph starts in cell 3, so it's an indentation, so that kind of gives us a clue too, to,
am I on? Oh gosh. Did? Oh, no.
you're right.
Did not like WEA where I like wearing his brown is brown overalls. Did not like wearing his brown overalls.
And so here we see little Jumbo running down the street without any clothes on at all.
Okay.
With the brown overalls.
You do get a lot of information from the pictures.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is why picture books are such a great way to read them. Okay, Craig, you're up.
David's mood was clearly getting worse. So little Jumbo suggested that Dad needed a timeout.
And I'm sure that went over well.
Yeah, so here we have them in kind of a face-off there. All right, Lydia, you have the next sentence.
Little Jumbo, G-O-T, got one instead. Period.
Okay, Joyce,
Yeah,
can you take the next sentence?
sure. He,
Not sure the,
he began to wonder what he could do to cheer up Dad.
hey, thank you. And here we see him, he's like flopping all over in his room trying to figure this out, so. But he is wearing the brown overalls. All right, and Patrick, can we take the next one? This should be the last sentence on the page.
Yes. He thought a hug might be a good start.
Okay. And notice, here's something else I want to point out. So on the bottom of Braille, the Braille page, we have what we call the Braille page number. This is not a print number. This is just a Braille page number. If we had print numbers, it would have started up here at the top on the very first page, and then it would have been what we call page change indicators every time the page changed. This book did not have page numbers in it, so they were left off of here, which makes it a very, that's usually a good indication of a very early reader. Okay, next, Jay, can you take the next? We're at the top of the next page.
Then little Jumbo took his dad to play catch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you do the next sentence too? It's just a short one there.
Oh, okay, yes. I thought I was off the hook. Let's see. That made his, no, that made him smile a little bit.
Okay, very good. And then we see here they are outside playing catch, and Dad is just starting to smile again. Can't see it very well. He's got a catcher's mask on. And Morgan, can you take the next sentence?
Since Dad loved dessert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jumbo agreed to share an ice cream. Oh, made the word up. Yep, cream cone.
Okay, very
Hyphen.
good. And look at here, look at the size of that ice cream cone that little Jumbo has.
Did you end? Right there.
All right, and Rhea, are you up for another one?
I really don't know. I'm still kind of recovering. Right there.
Oh, you're doing fine.
Okay. Okay.
And again, this is one of those tricky ones at the beginning of that next line, because it's a
Yeah.
capital letter and the letter A, so that looks a
Yeah.
little bit strange.
Okay. So, and F-I. It's the weirdest thing when you guys are reading, I can follow along, but when I'm reading, it's like I've never seen these. It's a very strange thing. F I don't know that letter, so I'm gonna skip it for now. H I N G. No. Hold on. F I S H I N G. Fishing?
Mhm.
M A D. Made. H I is Dad F E E feel something V E V E Even.
Very good.
Period.
So now can you go through the whole thing?
Me?
Yes.
Read it again, like with fluency and comprehension. I just decoded, so I didn't comprehend. So yeah, sure, I can try. I have no memory of what I read, to be very honest. Something about fishing and feeling. Something about fishing and feeling better. I truly don't remember the beginning. Wow, it's a very weird experience being a reading teacher and then doing this. I don't remember these words, so I can painfully go through them again, or I can just come back to you. But I don't remember the first part of what I read. I just remember the second part.
Okay, so it was, and fishing made his
Oh,
dad
yes.
feel even better.
Right.
Okay, very good. Tony, can you take the next one?
Sure. At bedtime, little Jumbo picked out Dad's favorite story.
Okay, very good. And here we see them sitting together in a chair and little Jumbo's got his favorite book for them to read. Good job. And Michael, you want to take the next one?
Sure. They,
What-
wait, back it up. Am I, I want to say they? No, am I in the right place?
I think you are, but it's better off.
H-E, then,
There you go.
then he, then he, oh my gosh, I'm just drawing blanks. T-U. T-U? Oh, T-U, tucked. Then he tucked, him, is that the H-I-M? It's gotta be his, oh boy, thank you. Then he tucked his dad in, that period? Then he tucked his dad in,
The comma there.
comma, okay, comma, and here we go, tracking all the way back over here, but it's gonna be train wreck here. And I'm so far off. Is that S-N? Snuggled. Him. Snuggled him. To. Snuggled him to gosh. Sleep. Oh my. And he snuggled him to sleep.
You got it, Michael. And here we see them. Dad is sound asleep. Okay, good job. Michael, good use of strategies to sound out as you go there. And Craig, can you take the next one?
It's a good thing I know how to cheer up my dad, thought little Jumbo, as he carefully got out of bed.
And here we see little Jumbo is climbed out. It's on the floor. All right. And Lydia, can you take the last sentence there?
Okay, starts with the capital I. Wonder how much cheering he, is that a contraction? He,
No, there's no contraction. This is a print contraction, though.
okay. He will
Well, it'll be heal.
he'll need tomorrow, and how do you like, and then period.
So what is that little symbol called?
Ellipsis.
It's period.
No, that one is that when the three of them are together, it is
Ellipsis.
ellipsis.
Yes,
There we
okay.
go. And Joyce, down there's a blank line and there's two words. Can you read that?
The end.
Okay. And here we'll see little Jumbo is now streaking around the house with a cape on and a mask. So after he's
And the
working-
curtains are kind of messed up.
Yeah, it looks like he's probably cut some things out of the curtain in all bad shape. So, all right. So how do we feel about reading our first book in Braille?
Humbling.
But we did it. So continue to practice your alphabet. That'll make a big difference. I will be having some. Oh, we do not have class next Monday. Any Mondays that are travel days, there's no class. So we'll meet in a couple weeks, but I will have some. Please practice in the meantime, and I'll have some stuff ready for us to pick up the next time. So, and again, remember, if you'll go through and just read through this again, it just, it really, really helps. And if you've interlined and want a blank copy, let me know and I will make new ones so you can practice without the interlining. Any questions, anybody?
I think when you're writing.
Thank you, Sue.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you all for being here and working so hard at this, especially at the end of a long day.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Sue.
Thank you, Joyce.